Well, hello guys and gals, my name is Mr. Moose and today we are playing some Farm Manager 2021. This is an upcoming release that will be coming out on Steam on May the 6th, and it's the follow-up to Farm Manager 2018. Many of you may have played that. We used to play it here on the channel about, 3 years ago. Had a lot of fun with it, and we've been having a lot of fun with this version over on Twitch. If you're not familiar with the series, this is a three-quarter down tycoon type game where you grow a bunch of crops. It's an agricultural setting. You're going to grow crops, you're going to raise animals, and then you're going to take those to production facilities and process them up, sell everything out onto a marketplace. It's not as immersive of a simulator like Farm Sim is. You're not actually doing the work yourself. You are a farm manager and you're watching over your employees and telling them what to do. So pretty cool little game. If you've never seen it before, hope you enjoy the playthrough today. There are several different ways you can play this game. If you're new to the series and you've never played it, there is a tutorial that will walk you through the game. There is also a campaign mode that is a story mode that basically holds your hand. It guides you through and gives you some, scenarios that you need to hit or some goals that you need to hit, like produce this much milk, produce this much cheese. It tells you what you need to do in order to do that. There are some just blind scenarios that you can play, like start off with a big fish farm or start off as, machinery. There's something that guides you through education. There's a lot of different things that you could do in the scenario wise. I'm sure there's probably some achievements that are tied to that as well. And then finally, there is free mode, where it's just an open sandbox. You do whatever you want to do. That's what we're going to play today. My goal for this is to give you a rough overview of the game as to what is available within the game, as well as to give you a starting strategy so that you, in your first year, can make a really good start and have a whole lot of income coming in that you can grow your farm from. As I said, we've been playing this game in my live streams over on Twitch, and we've been having a lot of fun with it. And I've learned a lot of things not to do and a lot of things that will do good for you in order to get started. And one of the most successful things that I have found is starting off as a fish farm, which is maybe not what everybody wants to do. You probably, a lot of people are going to want to start off as growing crops or doing cattle or sheep. You can definitely make money that way. Growing crops and stuff is going to be hard for you to make money early on. Dairy is a pretty good sound start. Doing dairy and sheep is a pretty good sound start. But overall, the biggest money that you can make in the game early on is with fish. And so that's what we're going to do today. Now, I will cover a lot of the stuff that is available in the game as we play, but I don't want to just sit here and ramble the entire time. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And we'll get some farming going. And as the production gets going, we will we'll cover some more of the things that are in the game for you. But a lot of times we as content creators will sit here and just ramble about a game while you look at a frozen screen, and I don't want to do that. So we're going to start off by doing fish. So we're coming into our building tab. We're going to animals, and we're going to select the fish farm. And again, this is open sandbox. You can place your stuff wherever you want to place. I'm choosing to place my fish farms up here, right on the border of the piece of property that I have. Now, you are constrained to this small piece of property here in the beginning, but if you click on your house and go to buy more land, you can actually purchase the adjacent tiles to this. Like they're $65,000. The value of the tile depends on what the terrain is. Like this one's only 53,000 of it. So the terrain around that area is affected, in the cost of it. But that way, again, you can expand and you can expand out to cover the entire map. But right in the very beginning, you only have a small parcel of land. You have about $1 million to start off with. Now, it's not really dollars. It's just a financial unit. I'm in the US, so I'm used to dollars. You can call it francs or euros or whatever you decide to do it. You can call it gold coinage or, your own particular denomination that you come up with. However you refer to it, it's just a monetary unit. And you start off with about $1 million. So anyways, so we plop down 2 fish farms. We're going to start time so those can start to build. We need to get a little road going in here that connects those to the main road. So you can pick a paved road or you can have a gravel road. I prefer for my employees not to walk in the mud, so I'm going to go ahead and give them a little paved road to walk on. And then we are going to, let's see, what's next? We're going to need a storage facility for some grains that we're going to be feeding our animals. So we're going to go to the warehouses tab. Got a couple of silos to choose from. We do a small one that holds 5,000 units, a large one, a medium that does 20,000 units, or a large one that does 50,000 units. I'm going to grab the 50,000 unit just because it gives me a lot of overhead to grow into. You can do whatever size you want to do. It's up to you. And I'll plop it down, and you notice there's that little red arrow in the front. You can rotate things by hitting the R key, and that red arrow though needs to connect to a road or a path of some sort. And we'll drop that down there right there. That's where the grains are going to be stored for our items. The other thing we need is we need some employees to work here. So we're going to need a house for our employees to live in. And we're just going to plop it down right here. It'll hold up to 8 employees. Now it needs a little bit of power for all of this stuff. So we're also going to throw some power down. There are 2 different power options. There are electric poles. They just string lines between transformers and power grids. The transformer is what actually gives you your power. And it has a catchment zone, as you can see. And we're just going to take it and plop it down right about here. Let's see, what if I put it right here? Now we get both my fish factories. And then we'll put that back to here. And then run all that down to here and connect that to there. And that's good. So that gives me a house for employees. My grain's up. I need to hire 2 employees to manage my fish farms. So we'll come into here and I'm going to look for somebody who is specialized in animals. Now there's a bunch of different specializations in here. We'll go over those, what they actually do. But for us, we're looking for somebody who does animals and what's the thing? I can't even think of the name of it right now, but endurance. Animals and endurance would be the best thing to do, but I can't seem to find that. So we're just going to hire somebody who is proficient in animal. Oh, there's animals and endurance. I like you. All right. So we hire a couple of employees. And our fish farm is actually done. So we're going to assign an employee in there. So animals, being specialized in animals, tells your employee that they can actually effectively collect things faster from animal production. All right. So we want to train her all the way up so that she's got maximum efficiency in collecting what our animals are producing. And in this case, we're going to be producing trout meat. So we're going to buy some trout. Our enclosure holds 50 animals. I'm only going to buy 5. I don't need that many animals because they're going to reproduce and they're going to fill things up. But I do need some food for them. So I've come down here to the market tab and we're going to buy some grains that we can feed them. Now, in this particular case, we're going to buy corn. We're going to buy sorghum, rye, and soybean. And each of these, we're going to up those to 1,000 units. And that will be enough food to feed our animals for an entire year. And that's going to cost us $6,619. $6,000, almost $7,000 will cover our entire feeding for a year. Let's go over here and assign an employee to this place. We'll assign him. We're going to train up his animals all the way up. Each level of that has a different value amount. The first one is 1,000. The second one is 1,200, 14, 16, and the final one is $1,800. Now this guy has 2 skills. Not only does he have the animal skill, but he has endurance. Endurance is going to allow him to work longer and stay in the enclosure for a longer time before he needs to go take a nap. So he's going to work more efficiently than this girl is, which is, nice. You can increase somebody's training with the money, but you cannot add another skill to them. So whatever skill they have when you hire them, you're stuck with that skill. So she only has animals. I can't add endurance to her, but I can make sure that she's maxed out on the skill that she has. On the other side of it, whatever rate you hire them at, regardless of what their education is, that's what you pay them the entire time, unless you decide to give them a bonus. So that's kind of nice. All right, so the truck is arriving with the grains that we just purchased. It's going to deposit those into our silo, and then our employees will be able to take the grains from the silo and feed our fishes, but we got to tell them what to feed them. So we're going to tell them to do rye, corn, sorghum, and soybean. And we'll do the same thing over here. You can get away with feeding them one thing, but if you notice up here at the top, it has chosen food quality. So the more that you feed them and the more options you give them, the better the food quality is for them. And then you'll see how much food that you're going to consume in a month for these. And if you notice, it's quite low. Now, as more fish populate the pond, that number is going to go up. But again, that 1,000 units of each that we purchased is pretty much going to handle all of the fish for an entire year. It takes a little bit of time for these ponds to get populated. So the first month, you're not going to have a ton of fish to sell, but you are going to, in your second and third months, once you have a fully populated pond, you're going to be pulling in more fish than you can handle. Now, fish sells for about $3.50 on the market per piece of meat. That's not a whole lot of money. But if you take that fish and you freeze it, it's worth a whole lot more money. 2 pieces of fish frozen together is worth $40 to $60 per kilogram. Whereas 2 pieces of meat sold fresh on the market at $3.50 each is only going to get you about $7. So as you can see, there's quite a value in processing the fish and freezing it. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to go over to production, and we are going to choose a frozen foods factory, and we're going to plant it down on the ground right here. And so, boom, there goes the facility down under the ground. And while that is doing out, we're also going to build we're going to build a warehouse. We're going to get a warehouses. And this here is where all of our seeds, plants, fruits, vegetables, meats, dairy, bottles, jars, all of that stuff is stored. So our employees are going to feed our fish, and our fish are then going to be turned into fresh fish. That fresh fish needs a place to be stored at, and that's going to be the warehouse. As you can see right now, it's calling for a warehouse over the top of it. They're saying, hey, look, we got all this fish. We got nowhere to put the fish. So we're going to build that warehouse. As soon as it's ready, then they'll be taking that fish over into the warehouse. At the same time, once the warehouse is done and the fish is stored and our freezer is done, we'll need employees to carry the fish from here over to here and actually do the freezing process. So we're going to go into hiring, and we're going to look for some employees who are good at manufacturing, because that is what they're going to be doing. They're going to be making fish fillets for us. And right now, I don't see any of those. So I'm going to hold on. Wait, I got one person that has a little bit of manufacturing experience, but I'm going to hold off. I'm going to wait for this facility to actually get done. I'm going to turn up the clock a little bit to go a little bit faster. You can speed up time. You've got your regular speed a little bit faster, and then you've got turbo speed here. So we'll speed things up to get our manufacturing going. Why is that not building so fast? Oh, there it goes. It's finally cooking. The other thing I know I'm going to need is I'm going to need another electric transformer, because this one only covers this area over here. I'm going to need one that will cover this area over here. So we're just going to kind of come out here to about, there, and then we'll connect that in there, and that will give us power that will power this side of the map as well. And then we'll go ahead and finish up building that facility. And as soon as it's done, hopefully, the marketplace will have some employees that are manufacturers, so that we can pick some decent employees to run there. Talking about skills for employees, some of them are going to have 1 skill, some of them are going to have 2 skills. sometimes the skills aren't necessarily what you need, and it's not a good idea to take them, because the more skill they have, the more that they're going to want to be paid, right? So like this guy here is animals and machinery. That's all fine and dandy, but the animal skill doesn't do me any good, and he wants a little bit more money because he has 2 skills. So what I really want to do is find somebody who has 2 skills that work to my advantage, like manufacturing and endurance. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get that. It's all RNG on how these employees are kicked out for you. And at this point, I don't have really good choices for employees. Everybody kind of sucks. But this guy here isn't worth a whole lot of money, so we'll probably hire him right now. And then this guy here is... Oh, this one's great. This one's manufacturing and endurance. I definitely want her. Then we got a couple of just manufacturing guys that are around $1,600. So I think we'll grab those 2. We need a total of 4 anyways. So we'll grab those. So that's not terrible. They're now going to come to work for us. And then we're going to need to change the protection on our facility. This particular freezer will freeze cherries, strawberries, raspberries, trout, carp, carrots, as well as spinach. But for our manufacturing purposes, we just want regular old trout to be frozen. It's a 2-to-1 ratio on here, as I said. So 2 trout makes 1 frozen trout, but it's about a 10 times increase in profitability if you freeze it. So that's going to be good stuff for us. So as soon as our employees go over and grab some trout out of the warehouse and bring it over to here, we'll get started manufacturing, and you'll see this start to go active. Now, again, the employees only work as long as they have stamina. So you'll see their stamina bars start to fall down. They'll work as long as they have stamina, then they'll go back to the house, sleep, and then they'll come back to work. So that is why somebody who has manufacturing and endurance is good for you, because they can stay in the facility and work longer if they have endurance. So this lady is a great hire for us. Not only will she produce more, in manufacturing, the skill for manufacturing allows an employee to make more units. So it increases the quantity of products manufactured in the factories or a manufacturing plant. So she's an awesome hire. She's maxed out in manufacturing, as well as she'll stay in the plant and work longer because she has more endurance. She was a good find. The rest of these guys are just kind of but we'll go ahead and invest in them, and we will get them producing for us. I mean, they're good enough for now. You might want to consider replacing them with somebody else down the road if you can find the right employees down the road. But for now, they're going to do the job that needs to be done for us. And at this point, we should be producing frozen fish. And we are. So we're off and running. And honestly, that is all we really need to do right now. We could sit and just run time forward. And that's what we're going to do. And while time is running, we'll go over a few of the rough outlines of what you can actually do in this game. Again, I wanted to get some gameplay going, so while we just yak about stuff, there's actually things being produced and things going on. Down here at the tab, we're going to click on it, and you can see there is a lot of little tabs of information you get here. You can get your expenses, you can get your employee overview. If you had fields, you get field overviews. Animals, it'll give you just a quick glance at what you've got going on as far as facilities. Frozen food factory, your production overview lets you see how your facility is operating. Equipment overview, crop overview lets you know how much you have in the warehouses. And then you have Edumacation, and this is where you increase your skill as a manager, and you decrease the cost of hiring employees, the cost of maintenance, the cost of buying equipment, the cost of buying property. It just also gives you the ability to increase production rates. And one of the things we want to train in is increasing the production rates in our manufacturing facilities. So I'm going to go ahead and spend the next 90 days training in production management 1, so I can become more efficient and my employees can make more stuff. And in the end of the day, I can make more money, which is what this is all about, right? Other things you can do in the game, there are a lot of different things that you can grow. So let's, while we're letting time cook on by, let's talk about the different animals that we can raise in the game. There are bees in the game, so you have a beekeeping building that you can put down beehives. You can make honey with that. Depending on what crops you have planted in the fields, you can make various types of honey. I think there are 3 types of honey. There is a buckwheat honey, there is a colza honey, and then a multi-fruit honey. And again, it's based on what crops you have in the field. You do need to have some crops growing for the bees to go out and collect the pollen from, and then come back and make the honey. So there's honey manufacturing. It's a nice little bit of money. It's not too, there's not a whole lot involved in the process, and you make a couple of $1,000s a month off of the bees. I think it's 10 hives per building. It makes a couple of $1,000s. It's a nice little passive income. You do need 1 employee per hive to run it. Then you've got chickens or poultry that you can do in the game. Excuse me, I clicked on it and I didn't really want to buy it, but there is poultry in the game. You have a small, a medium, and a large chicken coop. In the small chicken coop, you can do chickens, geese, ducks, and quail. In the medium and large, you can do turkeys as well. You do have to research to unlock the medium and the large facilities. You can also do ostriches. Ostriches have a small, medium, and large farm as well. And again, most of your poultry is going to be going to a slaughterhouse to be processed for meat. Then you get into fish, of course, which we've already talked about, and that is what we are doing today. Then you have cows, where you can do cows and deer. And we've gotten to the end of the month. I want to pause real quick in the game so that we can look at our finances. We'll come back to all this. I'll continue on with this while we're just letting time cook away. But we've come to the end of the month, which means we have some wages that we have to pay out, as well as our cost of maintaining buildings. So in our first month, our monthly overhead is $1,295 in wages, and we have $5,360 in maintenance that we have to cover as well. These are our monthly expenses, and whatever we manufactured in the month needs to at least cover these costs, right? That's the ultimate goal. We're gonna get hit with bills for expansion and stuff like that, but we have to cover these costs in order to be able to eventually make enough money to recuperate these expansion costs. So for our early month, we're at $15,000 that we have to, just over $15,000 that we actually have to cover. So we'll go to the marketplace, we'll go to the sell tab, and now we can sell off our fish that we processed this month. We were able to do 650 frozen trout that we were able to process. And once things got up and running, we had an overage of 1,178. We're going to sell them both. But just so you see the discrepancy in this, the fresh trout selling for $2.85 per kilogram right now. So we had 1,178. Total sales on that is 3,358. On the other hand, we have half as many frozen trout, but we're going to make $32,000 in it because the sell price on it right now is $49.37 per kilogram. So yeah, freezing fish is a 10 times increase in profitability. I'll take that. And so now you can see that by growing fish and then freezing it, we're going to make a whole lot of money. We're going to make a whole lot of money. And we covered our expenses. We, more than doubled what our expenses are. So we had $15,000 in expenses. We made $35,000, $20,000 in profit. That's a good month. And we can just now let things cook on. I could spend some more money putting in some greenhouses or some other things right now, but I don't want to. Because if you looked at our fish, we had an overage of 1,100. That was with our fish farms not being completely topped off. Right now we have 50 in this pond and 46 in this pond. Now that they're almost completely topped off, they're going to put out so much more fish meat, it's not even going to be funny. As a matter of fact, we're going to be producing enough fish in these 2 ponds to support 3 of these freezer facilities. And that's what I want to go ahead and get established. So instead of spending my $392,000 on greenhouses or something else like that, I'm going to hold on to it. And I'm just going to let this month pass on by and next month pass on by, sell off all my frozen fish and my overage. And as soon as I have another $500,000 available, I'm going to buy a second freezer facility. And that is how we are going to establish a really good foothold and a whole lot of cash coming in per month. Somewhere in the tune of about $150,000 a month will be eventually pulling in just frozen fish. And that will give us plenty of capital to operate our farm with. And that will open up the opportunity to do other things. And as I mentioned to you, you can get into cattle. So if we look at the cattle pens, excuse me, that's not what I wanted to do. If we look at the cattle pens in here, cattle pens can grow cows as well as deer. The cows produce milk. You can put a dairy in. The dairy can then turn the milk into cheese, and you can sell the cheese for pretty good profit. Cheese is about half of the value of what frozen fish is, and that's the reason why I went with frozen fish. In the live streams, I've been checking out all kinds of stuff. We grew fish at the same time as we did dairy, and we also did sheep, and it just turns out that fish is just so unbelievably profitable, but it makes the most sense to get started with early on in the game for the amount of money that you have available early on. If you diversify right off the bat and you put in fish, dairy, and everything else, you don't have enough money to buy the processing facility. And for me, whatever route you go, I say, if you're going to do cows, do some cow pens and buy the dairy right off the bat so that you can produce the cheese, because milk doesn't sell for nearly what, like a gallon of milk sells for like $3 or $4 in the game, maybe $5. Milk's fairly profitable, but cheese sells for like $30. So if you're going to do dairy, if you're going to do cows and do the dairy with the cows right from the beginning. Don't diversify out and put a whole bunch of crops down, put your dairy down, put your sheep down, put a fish pond down, and not put the production facility alongside of it. Because if you do, you're going to be just missing out on tons of money. So that's one of the key aspects of the game is don't diversify right off the bat. Pick one thing and do one thing through the production line. And then that way you'll have plenty of money coming in to expand your operation out. I hope that makes sense to you. So like I said, you have your dairy. It allows you to go in here and do the cows and the deer. There's a small, medium, and a large cow shed. You can do dairy with the cows, and you can also go to a large facility and breed cows, and then you take those to a slaughterhouse and sell the beef. So you have more than one way to process cows and deer. You also have pigs in the game. You've got pigs and pigs as well as boars that you can produce in the game as well. And again, the rest of this is just your pigsty, your large pigsties, your medium pigsties, your cow sheds and things of that nature, just the larger varieties. You can also do goats and sheep. Goats produce milk, sheep produce milk and wool. Goats produce a lot of milk, sheep produce very little milk and a lot of wool. You can take the goat milk and take it to the dairy and you can produce cheese with it. The sheep milk you can do the same thing with, but you don't get that much sheep milk. So the milk is just, it's kind of there, but the wool is really where the money is on the sheep. But goats is the thing. And then, of course, all of your livestock can be slaughtered and sold for meat, which is under the productions tab. And so we'll jump over to productions and we'll cover what you can actually produce in the game. There's a silage pit, so you can make your own silage. Not really profitable for selling silage. Like I made a big, huge grass field and then thought, well, I can turn all that into silage and I can sell the overage. It's not profitable because by the time you factor in the cost of the employees as well as what you make on the silage, you lose money. So only do silage enough so that you can supply silage to your animals. So if you're doing cows, you're going to need silage for the cows. You're probably only going to need 2 pits. You're going to need one to do the grass and one to convert straw from to silage. But that's all you really need. You don't need any more than that. Hey, we hit an end of a month, June, and so you guys can see where we're at profit wise. Our expenses didn't change. We're still just over 15,500. But what did change is what we have available to sell in the marketplace. We now have 1,100 fish this month, and look, we had 4,183 additional trout that didn't get processed. So that says we need another frozen foods facility. We'll make $11,840 on that fresh fish, but we're going to make $54,769 on the frozen trout. Definitely want to get another freezer in. $66,609 for that month of work. And yeah, we're on a roll. We made basically $51,000 that month. Pretty good. And we're getting closer to being able to afford another freezer facility. Let's go back to production, talk about things that we can make. So we talked about silage. You can make your own seeds and seedlings from the crops that you harvest out of your own fields. So if you're replanting things on a regular basis, your cereal crops, you can make your own seeds. If you're planting things like beets or something else like that, or even orchards, you want to expand your orchards, you can convert your harvest into seeds and seedlings to help you expand out your farm and not have to buy stuff. I'll be honest with you though, the seeds and seedlings aren't that expensive in the marketplace. So I don't really know how much you're going to want to use that unless you're doing just a really big farm. Then maybe it makes sense when you get to the bigger stages to save yourself some money on that by producing your own seeds and seedlings. The mill, self-explanatory, that just converts different cereal crops into flour that can be sold in the marketplace. The slaughterhouse is going to take your animals that you grow and convert those over into meat that can be sold in the marketplace. Milk for processing cheeses. As you can see, there is 5 different cheeses you can make. I think there's 2 for cattle. You can make butter. There's 2 cheeses off of the cows. There's butter that can be manufactured, and then a cheese for goats and a cheese for sheep. Then you have your fruit processing plant. As far as the dairy goes, by the way, the yellow cow cheese is your most profitable thing. Fruit processing, you can make apple juice, cherry juice. You can make different jams in there using the fruit. It's a very nice facility that you can get and extend out your fruit to make more money out of that. Costs $380,000. Most of these are around $350,000 to $380,000 to put down. The most expensive is the freezer unit at $500,000. Then you have the vegetable processing plant, the vegetables, tomato juice, carrot juice. You can make pickles. You can press the colza into like a flat something or other. I don't know what it is. And then, of course, the last thing that we talked about was the freezer, which we're already using, and we're hoping to get another one very soon here onto the farm. So yeah. Oh, and then the last is the oil factory, where you can press the sunflowers and the different flowers that you have, the cazola, the colza, lavender, things like that you can turn into oils, harvested out of your cereals as well. And that one is $500,000 as well. We skipped over social. That's just housing for our employees. There are 2 types of buildings. You have a building for your permanent employees. They're going to work year round for you. Those are going to be the guys who are tending to your cattle as well as running your factories and stuff for you. You can also hire seasonal help. You can define what their work schedule is. You can say maybe they get hired in May and work May to October or May to November. And they're going to be, if you're doing some small fields and you're not mechanized, they're going to be the ones that are going out into the fields. They're going to be planting, sowing your fields, and harvesting for it. And again, you don't want to pay for them to be around on the farm in the winter when your fields aren't being worked. So that's the reason they're seasonal. So that gives you the ability to have some field hands to work on the farm, and you only pay them for the months when they're actually working. Otherwise, greenhouses, manufacturing facilities, animal care, that's going to be people that you're going to pay year round to work for you. So you'll want to count on them to be around all the time. Warehouses, we went over silos. There's also a slurry pit, a manure storage that you can store your manure in, as well as slurry. They call it just liquid fertilizer in the game, but it's dry manure and then also liquid fertilizer. There is a barn for all of your hay, straws, haylage, silage. All of that stuff is stored in there, as well as some of the crops that you harvest will go into there as well. But mainly it's just your grass, silage, hay, straw, all that's going to go into there. And then we've already gone over the warehouse, where the variety of the majority of your harvest will either go into your silo or into the warehouse. And anything that you produce in your manufacturing facilities will go in there as well. Garages, there is, as we said, machinery in the game, tractors, combines, harvesters. They have to be stored somewhere. So you have two garages. You have a covered garage that has 6 slots in it. And those 6 slots, each slot is just a square tile. And you can park anything that is a 1x1 or 1x2 in there. So plows, small cultivator, fertilizer spreader, sprayer, things like that. They can be stored in there, and they get an additional 30% to their durability by being in the covered garage versus being stored on a large pad outside in the weather. That though has the ability to have 12 spaces in it and can fit combines. Some of your bigger spraying equipment as well can be parked on that. You'll end up there. I wish there was a covered parking spot like this that had an additional, like a higher price tag on it, so that you could get the 30% durability bonus on it, especially like your combine, because the combines are extremely expensive to maintain. And I wish there was a place where you could store them. All right, so this month is over with, and again, our price is right where we were, $15,000. I know it's not glorious and it's not beautiful that I'm not doing a whole lot of expansion on the farm, but what I'm doing is establishing enough money to be able to get a good source of income coming in on the farm. So we'll go ahead and sell off everything that we made. This month we had 1,050 frozen trout to sell, and we had 4,583 left over. So that is going to give us a total of $65,000 this month, and that gets us almost to where we can expand. Man, that sucks that we can't expand right now. I was really hoping we'd have right over 100,000 or right over $500,000, but we'll get it for next month. I promise we'll expand next month. In the meantime, let's take a look at the equipment. Well, we'll take a look at the rest of the things that are in here that we can do. We're going to skip decorations. We're going to go to others. Others give you items that you can place down on the farm to either enhance growth or also grow a few other things. You've got your wells and your pumps for irrigation that can be put down on the ground. I'll go into a little bit more depth on these in a little bit. Greenhouses, there are 2 different styles of greenhouse. There's your small and your big greenhouse. Basically, the small one plants a certain amount of crops, and this one's a little bit bigger. The difference on these two as well is this one requires 2 employees to do the work inside of it, where this one requires 3. And what I have found is for planting in the early stages, it's good to have about 4 employees for a small greenhouse and 6 employees for a large one, because 3 will work, they'll get tired, and when they go to sleep, the other 3 can come in and work for them and get the work done that much faster. Otherwise, it's kind of a slow process to get them planted. If you have a multi-harvest crop, you can get away with 3 people, because once it gets planted, then they're just going to be harvesting it over and over and over again. But if you have something that has to be replanted after every harvest, like let's say fodder beets, something like that, it's you need a lot of employees to keep the process going pretty quick. But you can get away with just 2 employees for this one and 3 employees for this one to maintain it. You have a veterinarian clinic normally in the game. If early on in the stages of it, if you have like goats, sheep, or if you're breeding cattle, you have to have the vet come out to inseminate them. Or if an animal gets sick, the vet has to come out and visit them, do a house call. There's a fee associated with that, and you have to pay that fee, and you have to wait for them to actually show up on site to be able to do it, and you have to actually pay attention when they're ready to inseminate and click on it and tell them to come out for it. If you plop down your own vet, they will go out and take care of all that stuff. It's $30 a month to operate them, plus the expenses that come with them doing the actual deeds that they do. But you don't actually have to pay attention. This is something you want to get later on in the game when you've established a little bit of a nest egg, because they could go out and do a lot of inseminations and bill you for it, and they could run up a tab that you're not really aware of. So if you don't have a little bit, if you're running a tight budget and you don't have a whole lot of money, they could put you in debt. Likewise is the mechanic. Machinery, if you're running it, it's going to break down. It has wear and tear on it, and after a little bit, it's going to break down, and you're going to have to get it repaired. The combine is super expensive. Ooh, training is done. Let's expand training. Let's go ahead and train a little bit more. All right, we'll get that continued on. Anyways, with the mechanic, repairs are super expensive, and you want to manage that early on in the game by yourself. They'll dispatch somebody out to repair the equipment. I would suggest early on in the game you let the equipment completely break, and then have them come out and renovate it and repair it up for you, and then you pay for it at one time. And just have an idea how much it's going to run you. Like a combine can run you a couple $100,000 in repairs. A tractor can run you about $60,000 in repair, or about $40,000 in repair. It just depends on how much work it needs on it. If you put the mechanic down and you don't have a whole lot of money, he's going to go out and repair things whenever he feels like repairing it, and not tell you that he's going out to repair stuff. And he can run you into debt really quick. So you want to be aware of that. You also want to be aware that the mechanic has a feature in it that allows you to set when he repairs an item based on its durability. So by default, he repairs anything that is less than, I think, 80% durability. So if you got a combine that's less than 80% durability, he's going to go repair it, and he's going to repair it to 100%. That could cost you $60,000 to $100,000 depending on what state the combine is in. And if you don't have a whole lot of money, it can run you into debt really quick. I know this from experience. One thing you need to pay attention to is when you drop that mechanic down on the ground to be built, as soon as it gets built, hit pause in the game and go look at every single piece of machinery that you have on the map. Because as soon as he is available, there's a new bar that shows up on your equipment that tells him when to maintain it, and you need to adjust all of that accordingly. Because if you're low on money and it's set at 80%, he could go through and maintain every piece of equipment on you and bankrupt you. So keep that in mind. He can put you deep in the hole. I put one down. He came in, repaired my combine to 100%, which was only like at 70%. And it cost me $67,000. And then it went and hit both of my tractors. And before I knew it, I was almost $100,000 in debt. So just be aware of that. Make sure that once you throw down the garage, you adjust what level you expect him to begin maintenance at, and adjust how, and know how that you've got a nest egg to be able to cover those expenses. I like to manually do my stuff because I can run my combine down to about 40% before I repair it, and I can make sure that I have enough money in the coffer to cover that expense myself. Now, as I get further into the game and I get a big, huge farm and I've got $1 million, $2 million running, I might not care about it. You know, I'll throw the mechanic down and let him do it, and it'd be a nice thing to do, you know. Let's see. We made it to August, right? Ding. Let's take a look at where we're at now. We should had some expenses come in. Yep. We're still at the same expenses that we had, other than the workshop being added in there. And we're going to sell off some stuff. And the good news is we should be now up over 500,000. We did 1,350 fish that month. We had an overage of 49.67. We have $82,000 in profit. Oh, well, we're a couple of days over the month, but the good news is we have $549,000. We can buy another refrigerator. So let's go into production and get another ice house, throw that down on the ground, and let it start doing its thing. So start building. And in the meantime, we're going to go over here and we are going to look for some employees. I need at least 2 more manufacturers. I got one dude there for $18.71. He's kind of expensive. There's a manufacturing and plants. There's just a regular manufacturer for $17.52. Not great choices on manufacturing, but we'll take what we can get. So we need 2 of them. We need her, and I'll grab this one down here. Where'd the other one go? Where'd the other manufacturer go? There we go. I totally need 4, but I don't have enough housing for that right now. So that gives me 2. I have $49,000 left over. I think I can get away with building another house. Let's go into social. There's $30,000 for that. Oh yeah, we're buying another house. So we'll throw another house down, and that will give us the ability to go ahead and get 2 more employees. So we'll go ahead and sign those. And now that the house is built, I'll get 2 more hired. Change the production on this over to trout so that they can get started. And then I will, why am I not scrolling down? Bing, there we go. Hire. Let's see if we can find a couple of more manufacturers. 1458, we'll hire her. And he's manufacturing in orchards. He's beekeeping. There we go. There's 1490, we'll hire her. Good stuff. All right, and then we'll go ahead and train up all our employees to max production. If I got enough money. At 12,000 left over. She needs 3 levels. And the last one I think is max. No, yeah, here we go. Woo, I got it done, and I have $6,349 left in the bank. That's going to increase my expenses now by about 4 employees. Yeah, that's going to be about $8,000 plus another $5,000. So about $13,000 is going to be added to our expenses. So we're going to be up around 28,000, I think, in expenses, somewhere around in there. But that's okay, because even though we're only going to get about a half a month of production out of this, that's really going to boost our sales. But we're going to have about, I want to say $80,000, $90,000 in sales, somewhere around in there. Maybe 80, hopefully. So we'll be able to cover those expenses with no problem. Now we get hit with our expenses as soon as the month ticks over. So that could set us down to in the negative, but we can dig out of the negative real quick. And again, the game will let you run into the negative. I don't know if it has a limit on how far it'll let you go into the negative. I know I've run down to almost $100,000 in debt by accident, and but I don't know if the game really penalizes you on that. And maybe I'll run one day on a test game to see how far it'll let me run into debt. But I know it lets you run into debt. There's no financial, there's no bank or anything to take a loan out from. So you're basically, but I do know that if you're in debt, you can't buy seed. You can't buy fertilizer. You can't buy anything else like that. So if you get yourself into debt and you don't have any way to replant your goods or anything else like that, you can run yourself into a point where you can't work anymore. But if you already have your fields planted, or if in this case, like you're producing something and you're filling up your stocks, you could sell early if you want to. I could honestly stop right now and sell everything. But again, for demonstration purposes, I like to have my bills come in and then sell to show you guys the difference in how much money we're making. Because again, this whole video is about getting yourself a good solid foundation started so that you can have a nice cash flow going. And I want you guys to see how much money you can do by just having these small farm going. And we've been at it, what, 4 months? And we're already going to be turning a huge profit. And from here, we can begin to expand the farm out. So we can begin to think about, adding in some new facilities, adding in some equipment, stuff like that. Real quick, let's see. We'll get to this month and we'll see what our bills are, and then we'll cover equipment, and that'll be about the end of it. So we ran ourselves $20,000 in debt. Our overall bills, $16,684 in labor, $10,420 in operating expenses or in maintenance. So what, we'll say $27,000, a little over $27,000 in bills. But still, I mean, let's look at what our sales, and granted, we lost a few days previously in the month, but $95,000 in sales for the month. $94,000 just in fish, and that's not a full production load. Each one of these has the ability to produce 1,500 fish. So we only did 1,850. When we get them both running and we're producing 3,000 fish, we're going to be bringing in well over $100,000 a month. So we're set now. We're going to have a nice influx of cash coming in, and that's going to give us the ability to expand the farm. We'll look at putting some greenhouses down. We'll look at doing some decorating around the farm, all of that good stuff. And maybe even we buy some machinery and get it going. I'm going to spend just a little bit more time covering machinery because I'm sure a lot of you guys are interested in what machines are available in the game, and that will about wrap things up for us. Vehicles wise, you've got an orchard tractor, which is for small stuff, planting your fruit trees, spraying them. It'll only run 5 implements. It'll run the orchard sprayer, the orchard planter, a trailer, a little plow, and a trailer with water. Your real workhorse on the farm is going to be the Riga tractor. It's $45,000 to purchase, but it will run just about every implement in the farm or in the game, and you'll probably end up having several of these. And then you have the big tractor, which is the Etos tractor. And to be honest with you, unless you've got a really big farm, you're probably not going to buy this one, because the only difference of it and the Riga is that the Riga, this one will pull 2 additional implement or 2 big implements. It'll pull a bigger plow and a bigger cultivator. But it actually works with less implements than the Riga does. The Riga is the best tractor in the game. This one I'm only going to get if I'm running really big fields for the plowing and the cultivating side of it. Other than that, it's really not worth getting. That's just my opinion. Combine wise, you've got a self-propelled, you've got the Xena combine and the Rodon combine. The self-propelled forest harvester, of course, has a couple of implements that you can hook on it for harvesting the lupin, the corn, the sorghum, and the soybean to be turned into chaff, or in this game, it's just called crop. And you have to plant a certain seed in order to get that crop. But it has a 5-meter head and a 9-meter head for it. The Xena combine is going to be for harvesting the majority of your stuff, your crops. It has a 7-meter and a 5-meter cereal head. If you get into bigger fields and you really want a bigger head on it, you go to the Rodon combine, and that's going to give you a 9-meter head and a 12-meter head. It can also use the smaller head early on, but you're going for the larger head, the 9-meter and the 12 head if you're buying this thing. But yeah, those are your combines. And then implement wise, you got little plow, orchard planter, mower, a round press for making round bales out of straw, the ester cultivator, the Rodon plow, which is the bigger plow that I was telling you about, planter, a trailer for straw bales, a trailer with water, a Rodon cultivator, the fertilizer, a precision or a row crop planter for doing corn, sugar beets, potato, no, not potatoes, fodder beets. You got your slurry tank here. I think peas are also done with a precision planter as well. You got a manure spreader, seed drill, a chest trailer, a potato planter, windrower, orchard sprayer, self-loading trailer, sprayer, and potatoes. Your grass is going to be mowed and windrowed and collected with a self-loading trailer, whereas straw is collected with the baler. So the only thing the baler is used for is collecting straw. So yeah, that's the implements you have. It's not heavy on implements and tractors and stuff, because the main focus of this game really is going to be in greenhouses, your animals, and then the production facilities. So that's really what you're in this game to play for. But anyways, I think that gives you guys a rough overview, and it establishes our fish farm here, and is a good place for us to stop off. I think that gets you a little bit of information about the game and what is available. I know we haven't done a whole lot. If you were expecting me to come in here, plant a bunch of fields and do some greenhouses, that's really not what this video is about. It's just a rough overview, and as well as a good strategy for starting out and getting a good positive cash flow early on in the game. Now that we've got the cash flow started, then we can expand. And in the next video, we'll attack some greenhouses. And as we get into spring, we'll look at putting in a house for seasonal employees, and we will get some fields planted in some, different grains. Maybe we get some bees going, and we'll start to expand the farm out. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you consider giving it a like and hit that subscribe button if you hadn't already. I'm going to try to get back into doing some more regular videos on games like this. Hopefully you guys will enjoy them. I would much rather see you, though, in the live streams. I try to stream in the afternoons around 4 o'clock Central Standard Time on Twitch at twitch.tv/Mr. Moose Gaming. The link is in the description. It's much more fun to talk to you guys and have an actual conversation than just ramble on in a video. So if you want to come join us, I would love to see you over there. All right. Again, the game is available on May 6th. Remember, guys, the strategies that I'm talking about in this are based off on the gameplay now. As with all games, devs will make adjustments. They will make balances, and maybe in the near future, fish might not be as profitable as it is right now. But as far as the game coming out on the 6th, it's a great way to get started. So hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for now. I will see you guys later.